More proof Jesus is not God but is his son. John 4:21 NLT. Jesus replied, "Believe me, dear woman, the time is coming when it will no longer matter whether you worship the Father on this mountain or in Jerusalem. You Samaritans know very little about the one you worship, while we Jews know all about him, for salvation comes through the Jews. But the time is coming, indeed it is here now, when true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. The Father is looking for those who will worship him that way, for God is spirit, so those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth." The woman said, "I know the Messiah is coming, the one who is called Christ. When he comes, he will explain everything to us." Then Jesus told her, "I am the Messiah." Just then his disciples came back. They were shocked to find him talking to a woman, but none of them had the nerve to ask, "What do you want with her?" or "Why are you talking to her?" The woman left her water jar beside the well and ran back to the village, telling everyone, "Come and see a man who told me everything I ever did." Could he possibly be the Messiah? So the people came streaming from the village to see him. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging Jesus, "Rabbi, eat something." But Jesus replied, "I have a kind of food you know nothing about." "Did someone bring him food while we were gone?" the disciples asked each other. Then Jesus explained, "My nourishment comes from doing the will of God who sent me, and from finishing his work. You know the saying, 4 months between planting and harvest, but I say, wake up and look around, the fields are..." Why would he say his food or nourishment comes from doing God's will, who sent him, if he's God? Notice he says he was sent to finish God's work, so basically finish what God had started. The fields are already ripe for harvest. The harvesters are paid good wages, and the fruit they harvest is people brought to eternal life. What joy awaits both the planter and the harvester alike. You know the saying, one plants and another harvests, and it's true. I sent you to harvest where you didn't plant. Others had already done the work, and now you will get to gather the harvest. So it says, I sent you to harvest where you didn't plant, meaning others came before them sharing the faith, and they reap harvest from that message. And I found it interesting he followed up the part with saying he was finishing God's work because he was sent to do it, and that the disciples and people at that time were harvesting when they bestowed no labor yet for God's kingdom. They may have worked, but not yet for God's kingdom, so they are harvesting from some of the labor before them, basically. From some of the planting of seeds of faith before them, so the gospel could reach them. Anyway, I also believe this is Jesus showing he is not God by saying he was sent to finish God's work, and following up with we reap a harvest where we did not plant. Showing he also did not start God's work, but he is helping finish it. He is laying the foundation for a new way of faith through him to God, basically. He is finishing God's work. Because he was sent by God to do that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. God bless and thanks for listening.